AARP. Here at AARP New Hampshire, we are focused on the health, financial security, and social connections critical to the well-being of the 50+ in the Granite State. We carry out our work through targeted advocacy at the state and federal levels, compelling engagement of the 50+ community statewide, and serving as a trusted resource for information for our members and the public. I want to welcome you to this virtual gathering, whether you are a new caregiver or an experienced caregiver. Many of us who are not now caregivers will become one with life's unexpected events. We want to be sure all of you are aware of the many resources available at AARP for caregivers that provide helpful information, articles, stories, and virtual offerings to connect with others. A helpful guide called Prepare to Care can be found at this site and is available in the multiple languages and for specific audiences, such as veterans and the LGBTQ community. This link will be put in the chat, and it's https://www.aarp.org/caregiving. It is important that caregivers also take time for themselves. We are so glad that you are joining us tonight and allowing yourself to take a break and enjoy a fun activity. AARP is here to support you, and we hope you enjoy tonight's painting class. I've begun the recording for this event, and it will be available in a few days at youtube.com/AARPNH1. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will address them periodically throughout the evening. And also, to make this experience more enjoyable, we have put together a few frequently asked questions, which Megan will mention. And our next painting class will be on December the 11th and 6th, and you can register at aarp.org/nh. So without further delay, Megan, back to you.
Wonderful. Frances, thank you so much. And I love that you're joining us tonight and supporting us with all the resources and keeping us on task. So Frances, as always, and Miss Mary, thank you for being here and kicking our activity off. For anyone new here, my name is Megan Van Wart, and it's a pleasure to be here and support a nice creative break for yourself. I am based in Vermont in New England, and I absolutely love partnering with AARP New Hampshire for these creative evenings in. We always encourage you to show up being yourself, put your fuzzy socks on, grab a cup of tea. This is time for you. Our days are usually, crazy or unexpected. So this is a really nice class where you have a little bit of certainty, where you can just take a break and show up as your authentic self. So the opportunity of creating, some of you may not have painted in a while. Some of you may join us every month. Either way, this is an opportunity for you to practice your creativity. So we're going to be painting a really fun turkey tonight. So if you don't have a pencil handy, go grab one. If you don't have a pencil at home, it's okay. It's always helpful to have one in some classes like this, so we can kind of ground ourselves with the composition. But no matter your skill or ability, we're going to have a good time. I'm going to walk you through all the basics step by step. You can pick and choose your colors along the way. So any of you that are feeling a little like, woohoo, a little creative tonight, you can go off and you can just let free and be your own being. If any of you are more type A and say, Megan, I'm going to follow along. I want to follow along. You can do that too. Okay. So we are here to, for you just to have a good time and show up. So what are we using for supplies tonight? So for all of these classes, you bring whatever supplies you have at home. So I typically use acrylic paint in these classes. I always have black and white, and I have the 3 primary colors. So red, yellow, and blue. I always start with those. Now, if you happen to have a fancy paint kit at home, great. You might have some other colors and some other hue variations, but I teach you how to blend colors in these classes. So you don't need any fancy paint to be a part of this class. You can go to the local dollar store or craft store and buy some of the basic stuff, and you can paint with us. So we love making these classes accessible and really easy for you. I have an array of brushes. Again, nothing fancy. I have a big brush, which is about a 1/2 inch, and then I have some detailed brushes. And our inspiration tonight, which is right here, and I'll re-upload it in the chat in just a minute, we're not doing any crazy background colors. We're just going to paint the turkey tonight because there's a lot of fun details. If you wanted to do a background, you could. It's absolutely up to you. But I have some small to large size brushes, so I might use 2 or 3 of these, but use whatever brushes you wish along the way. I will tell you what brushes I use along the way, so you can make some choices. In addition to the paints and the brushes, I like to paint on acrylic paper. I'm painting on, I think 9x12 tonight, but I also paint on these canvas boards as well. So you can show up with whatever materials for class. And you're going to need a small plate to mix colors, and you'll need a paper towel for any messes and a cup of water for to clean your brushes off. I'm just grabbing an extra plate. I have a palette paper, which is kind of a fancy thing to use. I'll show you what it is. Palette paper is kind of like wax-like paper that you can use instead of like paper plates. It's much more thin and it's kind of a nice surface. So I'll use this tonight to blend. If it's not working for us, I'll just grab a paper plate to show you that along the way. So a cup of water and a pencil. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I encourage you to ask questions along the way. I want you to give yourself a permission to just do your best and not be too critical of your work. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I am going to use a pencil initially for some of the object forms, and then I might outline those with a Sharpie so you can see what my forms are for my turkey. So we're going to get the structure of the turkey in place first, which is the position of the turkey and how big the turkey is going to be. And then we'll paint it in, okay? That'll make it really less stressful. Drawing can sometimes be hard for folks, so I always love taking a few minutes up front to get our sketch in, and we'll go from there. But let's just jump right in with our class. I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight. And again, a big thanks to AARP for having us. New Hampshire, you are wonderful people, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you. So the first thing that we're going to do is I want you to look at the composition. The composition is, think about like one big circle. Maybe we do the body of the turkey. Maybe the turkey has 2 circles for this piece. So maybe we focus on the body piece here. And then we'll do the circle for the head. So imagine the turkey's body is going to be kind of 2 circles on top of one another, and then we'll do the fancy tail. So the position, if I do a first circle for the turkey's body, it's going to be aligned to the right a little bit more. And it looks like somebody has a question. If anyone has questions, just put them right in the chat, and the team here, we can help answer those along the way. And I'll maximize my screen a little bit so I can see those questions as they come in. So I'm going to do my circle for the turkey's body. I'm going to leave some padding below. And I'm going to do a circle kind of over here on the right. And for me, this is going to be the size of like a clementine. Okay. And I'll make it a little darker so you can see it. If you're sketching your own, this is like a small orange. There. Don't do it as dark as me. I'm doing it dark just to show you. Just do a nice soft pencil sketch. Then if you take this side of the circle and you go up a little bit, I want you to draw a smaller circle for the head. This is about the size of a dime. That's going to be roughly where my turkey's head's going to be. I can make it bigger if I want to, but I'm just getting some basic elements in. Okay, so turkey's body's here. I have a circle here, and I have a circle for the head. If you want to have fun and come down and like give that turkey a neck and connect the neck to the body, you can. Okay, if you wanted to give that turkey a neck, you can. You can connect it to the body. Your neck can always change. We're going to be putting a lot of colors in here, so don't worry too much about the neck, but we're connecting those objects. And we'll give the turkey a beak and all of that too. If you wanted to give the turkey a beak, you can kind of come down the circle. It's like a downward shaped beak triangle kind of coming down. Ooh, it kind of looks like a turkey already. How about that? This might be the easiest animal I've ever painted. All right. Oh, and I'll post the inspiration in the chat window. So we always take a few minutes, if we can, and I'm uploading that turkey now, to get the sketch in, because then we can have fun painting, right? So there's that circle there. We're gonna do another circle kind of up on top. And this is kind of like the fluff of the feathers. So I kind of did like a humpback on this. And this is not the feather spray. This is kind of like the backside of the turkey. And we'll draw the feather spray into, I'm gonna call it the feather spray. There's probably proper terms for this. But we're just getting the body in place, okay? And we're gonna have a lot of feathers coming in and filling in this space. So there's gonna be lots of feathers. There's also a pumpkin over here too. So if anybody wants to like put a little pumpkin over here, you can. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you wanted to put a little pumpkin in, you could draw a little pumpkin. Just to show you, there'll be a pumpkin down here. And I can always change the shape of my pumpkin. But just to show you, there'll be a pumpkin over there. So we did kind of a circle for the body, a circle for the head. I did the beak, and I just connected the neck. The neck's going to have a little bit of a bend to it, either inwards or outwards. You can play with it. All turkeys have different personalities, right? So let's just roll with that. And then this is kind of the fun part, the spray of feathers. So you're going to come with your pencil. Once you do your second circle, you're going to come halfway up, and then you're going to come up, 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 down, and around. And that's going to be some of the feathers. Now we're going to make it look more like feathers. We're just getting it in there for structural awareness. And I came down about halfway on this second circle because we're going to have like a big wing coming in here off of this bird. So you can see that my bird is centered from a composition perspective on my picture. Now, if your bird's smaller, that's totally fine. If you want to add in another pumpkin, if you want to add in another object, maybe a tree or a bush, that's absolutely fine. You could do that too. All right. So I want you to take a couple minutes to get in your turkey head, the first circle. And these are just guidelines. So we're going to be painting on top of this second bubble, and then this is the turkey feather spray. And we're going to be painting everything else in. We're going to have feathers come down from our turkey, etc. And I did a heavy pencil. You don't need a heavy pencil as much as I did. So take a minute to do that. And I'm going to do a soft erase. And we're going to have so much fun filling this in. Now I'm doing a soft erase because the pencil is really thick and I don't want it really heavy visually. I don't want it to come through the paint. And the paint I use for these classes is fairly basic because I like to show you that you don't have to have fancy paint to join our classes. So I'm just going to I'm going to do some soft erasing. Once I like my turkey shape, I can still see the lines. Drawing can be the hardest part, so if you're struggling, don't worry, you got this. Just know you can always change things if you need to. And you all can still see that roughly, right? If I bring it a little closer, you can still see that. So what we're going to do is, in this class, there are so many colors in this turkey, and that is what drew me to this inspiration. There are reds, there are yellows, there are oranges, there's blue in the feathers of this turkey. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one color and we're going to put it in all the places. And then we're going to switch to another color. Okay. And then if you want to use different colors for your turkey that I'm not doing, I encourage you to break the rules. One of the things about being an artist is incorporating your own ideas. And most importantly, in these classes is knowing that it's okay to do your own thing. I am not going to reprimand you. I promise. This is a really fun activity for you to take on the inspiration any way that you wish. Okay. So, and the other thing I'll mention is that everyone in these classes works at different speeds. Some of you may be self-sketching, some of you may be already painting. So always just go at your own pace in these classes. Thanks to AARP New Hampshire, the class is recorded, so you have access to the class for you to reference any details after, okay? So I'm going to take my plate or my palette paper and I'm going to put a little bit of red paint on here and we're going to get going. Now we try to keep our classes to about an hour and a half. You can grab any small brush that you wish. I'm starting with red. I am going to grab this is probably a number 3 round tip brush. It's a brush that's not too small, not too big, but allows me to have control over what I'm doing. And it holds pretty good amount of paint. So where do we see red? We see red on the turkey's head. So you can see here on top of the head, it's more orangey, and on the underside of its chin, it's more yellow. But on the back side of the head and down to about its chest is all red. So let's paint our turkey red. So maybe on the back side of the head, I'm going to outline the back side of the head. And you can kind of go all the way down to the circle. That's fine. And you're just going to kind of wrap the line down. Ooh, this is so much fun. You're just doing red. Back side of the turkey's head. The full neck can be red. We're going to bring in other colors too. You can pick and choose on how you want to, bring in those colors to the body. Okay, I'm going to bring this a little closer. Perfect. So then we're going to incorporate red in some other places. Let's give the turkey some feathers down here. Now just have some fun and give this turkey some feathers. Ooh, so fun. So maybe down here towards the ground, and the feathers are coming out this way, right? And I'm just doing some brush strokes. So imagine this is the turkey's wing that's coming down, right? And I'll just do a little bit of red on top. And I'm just using the brush strokes to make them kind of look like feathers. So my goal here is just to put a little bit of red here and there on the turkey. And we can always add more red if we want to. But I'm leaving a lot of white space showing because we're going to add some more color to the turkey. So just do a little red here and there. So I did the head and the neck. I kind of have some turkey feathers kind of blending into the body. And then I have some feathers down here. And that's it. So easy, so simple. Okay. Now maybe we'll do a little bit of some of these feathers on the tail. So I'm just using the tip of this brush and I'm going to start that kind of circular pattern. Ooh, look at this, so fun. I'm going to have so many colors. There's going to be rings of color on the tail. And instead of just doing a single brush stroke, I'm playing with the texture and the tip of the brush to add in a ring of this red, because visually it matches the bird, right? It matches the feather on the body. And I'm just doing a little bit so it all can start to match visually. And this is on the floof of the tail. Love that. So we're going to do the bird first and then the pumpkin, and then we'll do some like fall-like decorations below, if that works for everybody. All right. So since we're on these red colors, we're going to create a darker shade of red as our next step. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my black and put it just a tiny dot of black. And look at that, tiny little dot of black. I'm not using much paint at all, so you don't need to put a ton of paint on your plate. Just a little bit goes a long way. With the same brush, I'm going to take a little bit of this black near the red, and I'm going to mix a darker red color, kind of like a cranberry or brick-like color. So take a minute, and in these classes, we always take a few minutes to blend and mix colors. This is where we kind of pause and slow down and to enjoy the process. I want to thank you all again for being here. And again, a big thanks to AARP New Hampshire. We would not be here tonight with their support. So This is time for you all to enjoy the break and have some fun with our festive turkey. So I have a nice dark red color. Look at that. And I'm going to put a little bit of this dark red on the back side of the turkey. So this is the second bubble here. Down here on the underside, I'm going to put a little bit. I'm just creating this darker red's kind of acting as a shadow or a shade. And I'm kind of painting the whole, if you see my circles, it's kind of like the whole left side of the turkey. And I'm going to just stay on the bottom side because I'm going to create by the turkey's head on this side, it's all going to be lighter. So I'm just going to do a little bit of darkness there. And we're going to be adding lots of colors and lots of layers. So don't worry too much. And then I might add a little bit of this darker color in between here on the back side of the neck to create a little bit of shade. You can play with that. So see how it's really all starting to come along from a shape perspective. And do a little bit, maybe you do a little bit of an outline on the back side of the head. This is where you can be playful. You don't have to follow along directly. I might put like a little bit of darker red down here. We're going to save lots of white space for blue though. The blue is really going to be a punchy. And if you want to paint on top of some of the other red, you can. But see how all the colors are really just starting to match quite well. It's kind of fun. So we're going to bounce around from one color to another as we fill in our turkey, which is going to be really fun. And again, I want you to take your own interpretation. You want to put a little bit of the darker red on the underside of the chin. You're welcome to play with that. Nice. We're adding lots of feathers, so we're just playing with our reds and our dark reds. Okay. Now we could even use this dark red at the top of our turkey feather up there if you wanted to try that. And this is kind of a fun part. So we're going to do a ring, right? Because we're going to do lots of rings of color. So if you wanted to play with feather-like shapes, you could. If in the inspiration, it's a little bit of a wiggle line. So if you don't want, true kind of pointy feathers, that's fine. But I'm going to kind of create a ring of darker feathers. And everybody's is going to look so different. So just have fun with this. It's going to go all the way around that turkey feather line. And again, take your time. There's no hurry. But this is the outer edge for me. And I might change this. Maybe you take a little bit of a line on the interior and you just kind of smooth it over a little bit. That's fine. Or you can have it be crazy feathers. It's absolutely up to you. I always experiment in these classes just to show you it's okay to try things. So don't worry too much if you want to do something different. Just go for it. Because I can show you how to make adjustments along the way if you need to. So we're going to do some of our darker colors first. That looks great. So we did some of the reds and we did some of the darker reds. So I'll give everybody a minute to play with those colors, and then we're going to shift to oranges next. So I'm going to clean off my brush because we're going to be using yellow next. So one of the things about acrylics, as folks are playing with that darker color, I'm going to clean my brush. One of the things about acrylics is that it dries quickly. And if you're new to these style classes, we typically do our basic layers. We let it dry, and then we can go in and add some more character to our animal, in this case, to our picture. And that really will allow us to bring our picture to life in so many ways, whether it's creating depth or adding texture to something. We do all these techniques in our classes, and I'll guide you, and it's really beginner friendly. So just know we always want you to join us. If you have a friend in mind that you might want to join, share with them the AARP New Hampshire resource and event link. Have them sign up for our next class. It's really fun. And they can join us too. They can either be with you or they could be from their home too. So it's really easy to join. But we're going to do our orange next. So I have red on my palette. I need yellow. So let's find the yellow. Some of you may have different colored yellows. I have a yellow ochre, which is a little more mustardy of a color. I have lots of colors of yellow. Let's see. So I have like a lemon yellow and I have an ochre. Most of you probably have a brighter yellow. So I'm going to use the brighter one just to like stay in the simplicity category here. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow on my plate. To make orange, it's yellow with a touch of red. Okay, so it's not a 50-50 mixture. All right, if you happen to have ochre, that's fine. But I'm going to do this lemon yellow to show you. And I put the yellow right next to this. So I'm just going to start and I'm just going to grab a little bit of the red. I'm going to mix it right into my yellow. And, you know, we'll use quite a bit of orange in different areas, but if you wanted to, if you make a lot of it, you can kind of pull some of this yellow to the side. I'm just going to put a little bit of that over there. But I'm going to put a little bit more red in to make it more orangey. But we always take a few minutes to blend and find the right colors. I always want you to find colors that you enjoy, that you like. And when you experiment with colors, you learn a lot about your preferences. You learn a lot about how to create, you know, a bluish green versus a green, or a more of a blood orange compared to just an orange. So you'll learn those tips and techniques in these classes. It's fairly straightforward. So I'm looking for, let's see, I'm going to go a little bit more. So I'm going to use yellow and then we'll use red. Oh, sorry, we'll use yellow, or sorry, orange, and then we'll use yellow. So we'll do orange first and then our yellow accents, and then we'll do the blue left after. So I have my orange. For me, I'm inspired to just do a little bit of orange detail right under this dark area. I'm just doing a thin line of orange. I'm just doing little dots and dashes just for some fun texture. And I'm leaving quite a bit of space there because I might add some more colors. Maybe I'll add, I don't know, maybe I'll add a little bit of yellow up there too. I haven't decided. Everyone's is going to look so different. So really just kind of follow your own intuition. Everybody's going to add different widths of paint in different areas. Okay. And then with the orange, I did a little bit of a ring on the tail. And on the second body area where this color is, I'm going to put a little bit of orange in the halfway area. I am going to make it a little lighter on the right side of this bird's body. If you wanted to take a little bit of this dark red and this orange and kind of do some blending in here, you can. It's absolutely up to you. I just kind of went back in and I grabbed a little bit of that. So you can play with blending one color to another, or they could just be, you know, flat colors. But I'm leaving a little bit of space over here on the second body for it to be lighter. So that's our turkey's body. If you want to put a little bit of this orange on the bird, maybe down here under this red area. We're going to leave a lot of this area for blue, but I'm going to tuck in a little bit of this orange here. If you want to use your brush to kind of create feather-like ends, you can. You can spin your brush on your plate. Yes. Ochre. Yes. Ochre. Somebody was commenting on the color of ochre. So I'm just adding some of this color down here on the underside of the bird. If you wanted to dip your brush in a little bit of water, I'll bring this over here. And use the tip to kind of create, you know, feather-like shapes down here. You can play with that. And look what's happening. When I add a little water to the orange paint, it's creating a softer opacity. So if you wanted to use some of this lighter orange, see how, and if I use it as my lighter color on the second part of this bird, it's creating a nice lighter shade. So if you wanted to play with that, you could. So I just dipped my brush in a little bit of water. basically on the back side of this bird, I want it to be light, mid-tone, and darker. So this is kind of a fun technique to play with because I want it to be lighter on the top of this bird's body right here. That's why we're doing that. So take a few minutes if you want to play with blending in a lighter color, mixing maybe a new color, blending one of these to another. This is all for fun. All right. All right. So there's that. And you can really play around with where else you might want to add in either a yellow or an orange with like on the bird. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to figure out what else I might want to add in. I might add in a little bit of a lighter yellow here. But on the underside of this, the bird on the tail, I'm going to save some room for blue. I might add in some lines. So any way you want to fill in the tail, feel free. I'm going to definitely save some room for blue. So I'm going to play in, I'm adding in a little bit of yellow here. And you can decide if you want to keep any white space, like that's fine too. So if you want to bring in a little bit of yellow, maybe I'll bring in a little bit, I have a little bit of yellow here. I might bring in a little bit of yellow here, and I might put in some blue in this area. But we'll do blue in just a second. But it's fun to play around with the colors that we have. And I'm playing with the tip of my brush to kind of give it some feather-like texture along the way. Nice. Again, yours does not have to look like mine. We're here just playing and having fun together. So take a few minutes to play with using any orange, yellows, and reds. And then we're gonna do our blues and then we'll come in and fill again, but we're holding space for blue. And if you don't want to use blue, that's fine. The blue is gonna be really neat because it's gonna give some great contrast. There we go. And I'm playing with different oranges and yellows in that space there. And I just did a little yellow here. And I'm happy with the colors that I have here. I might just do a little touch of yellows there and maybe a little bit of yellow here, but I'm going to do a lot of blue down here in this space. So I'm going to clean my brush and prepare for blue. If I wanted to, I could paint my pumpkin orange right now since I have orange out. So if you wanted to just do a base coat for your pumpkin, feel free. I didn't erase my lines, but that's okay. I could just do an orange coat for the pumpkin and then we can do more depth on our pumpkin after. Everyone can just take your time. Again, I'm so glad you all are here enjoying the experience with us. I'm just giving my pumpkin a nice solid orange coat. My pumpkin has kind of a flat bottom, has a little bit of a stem on top, and I'm gonna let it dry. But my turkey's coming along. I'm so glad that we took a minute to do the shaping because it's a little bit three-dimensional, right? When we created the different sections of the turkey, it's really showing up quite well. And I'm excited to see everyone's work as well. We always love seeing your work. All right, so I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to shift to blue in just a moment. But if anyone has any questions, please let me know. We'll do some more touch-up detail as we get going. We always start in the background typically and work our way to the foreground. We'll have some good time at the end for some more detail work. So if you feel like you want to get into the details now, just know we will have time towards the end of the class to spend more time on the detail work. But it's good to get the basic colors in so everything can dry and then we can go back on top. Acrylic is fairly forgiving in that regard. All right, so let's get some blue. I just have a basic cobalt blue style color. So everything is drying nicely over here. Now you don't want to mix blue with orange because you're going to get brown. So make sure your oranges are pretty dry. I'm going to apply the blue primarily to the body first, and a lot of the body is fairly dry. So, all right. So I have a little bit of blue here. The blue in the inspiration is light blue. So I'm going to get a little bit of white. I'll put a dollop of white on my plate. And I'm going to bring the blue into the white so I can manage the light blue effect, if that makes sense. So I have my white here and I have my blue here. I'm going to bring a little touch of the blue right into the white so I can manage how dark this color is or how light this color is. And I can get a little more blue. Ah, this is a great opportunity to take a deep breath. Pat yourself on the back, so you're doing a great job. Some of you might be here, might be brave, trying something new. I applaud you. Some of you may be here to just build your skills and just have a little me time. That's always lovely. So I applaud you for being here for a little me time. Always helpful. All right, so mixing that nice blue there. I'm gonna go a little darker, just a little bit more. And again, I'm going nice and slow and finding the color for me. You can reference the inspiration that's right next to my painting if you wish. You can reference the inspiration in the chat. And you can see where we're putting those blue feathers. So I'm spinning my brush on my plate to manage how much paint is on my brush. Gives me a little bit more control. Okay. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to add some blue to the body. So underneath here, I'm going to add some blue under the red. So we all have different white gaps. So we can all decide, and I'll add maybe some darker blue in places too. Start to add a little bit of blue here and there. And I can easily mix a little dark blue along the way. And look, just tuck in a little bit of this darker blue in areas. That's easy peasy. And the dark blue is just more of like that cobalt. Totally optional. But I'm going to stick primarily with that lighter blue first. And then I'm going to have, so we've got to make sure this bird has some pretty heavy feathers coming off. So I'm going to use this blue and I'm really going to do some heavy brush strokes to create this feather. See that? And now I want you to play with the tip of your brush and really give the end of this bird some feathers. And you can just do soft, short little brush strokes. See that? If you wanted to add in a little bit of some darker blues, you can. If you want to add some reds in here, that's fine. But we just start with one color. And if this is too much blue, no problem. You can always come in and add some more reds. I can come in and add just a little bit of red here and there. I just did it right on top. It might give you a little bit of a purple. That's kind of fun. So this is your bird. You can do it any way you want, but I want to see the blue, but I'm adding in just a little bit of extra color here and there. And I kind of turned it into a purple a little bit, which is really fun. I can let it dry and I can always come back. Now your feathers can be more pronounced. Mine is fairly fluffy, which is fine. If you want to have more specific feather tips, you can. Like that. I can always clean my brush off and do the same thing with my red if I want to. I want you to manage how far you're going for your brush strokes. So I'm not going to come down much more, but I'm just going to kind of edge off the bird's feathers, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's the bird's feathers right there. I'm happy with, it's looking very parrot-like, but I'm fine with that right now because I'm going to let it dry and I can play with the textures in different spots. But once I get the beak in and the head in, it's going to look great. I'm going to bring in, let's see, a little bit more, maybe some darker blue under here. Like on the back side of the bird. So you can play with those feathers on top by bringing in some of the cobalt blue and the lighter blue. It's absolutely up to you. So I'm going to let my bird dry. And I'm going to bring some of the blue into the tail feathers. So again, go at your own pace here. I'm going to just do some big, thick blue brush marks just to see how it looks. And there's some orange stripes in here too. So I might put little orange brush strokes in between some of the blue to really section out the tail. That could be really fun. If you wanted to do more deliberate brush strokes, you could. This is all for fun. So any way that you want to dress up this bird, you can. There's like a white line in this too. So if you wanted to go back in and add some white, you certainly could do that. So add a little blue here and there where you see fit. Let's see here, there might be a little bit of blue on the top side of this bird. You can decide some of those details. And I'm also going to put some orange and some yellows on the head too. So I'm having fun with my turkey. I'm going to let it dry. I'll put in some orange in a minute once this dries on this tail. So take a few minutes and play with this step. I'm going to clean up my brush, add a little yellow and orange to the head. But I love how this is coming out. Everyone's are going to look so different. You might need to reshape your bird. You might be like, Megan, I don't know what happened to this bird. It's not round anymore, or maybe it's too big and you need to like redefine its feathers or like change the size of its head. Those are all very normal things that happen in these classes. So just take a deep breath. I'm here to help you. I'm going to make sure that the bird's head has orange and yellow on it. So my red on the head is dry here. The beak, you can paint yellow, but we'll put a little bit of red kind of coming down. So I'll do that in a minute. But if you want to paint the head between yellow and orange, feel free to do that. I'm going to use yellow and orange to paint the head. We'll do the eye after as well. Oh, now my turkey looks like a turkey. I painted the rest of its face. There we go. Coming along. All right. So play with your blues, right? I'm going to add in a little bit more orange in between my blues up here, just because that's what I'm inspired to do. But we're going to play with these details. So just go at your own pace here. I'm going to put a little orange in between some of these colors. If you want to come in with white after and do some really like pretty white detail work, that would be a really fun thing to consider. So if anybody has any ideas and you want me to be the guinea pig, I love this. I'm always happy to be the guinea pig in our classes. If you want to outline this turkey body with this like a nice dark color to kind of really round out this shape for the body, you can. I just came in with that darker color. But I love where this is going. This is such a colorful turkey to kick off our season here. Kick off our closest holiday, right? Some of you, there's certainly other holidays coming up or maybe coming sooner. But I love this. So you can play with the texture for your turkey. The tip of your brush. You can use darker colors. I have a little bit of darker red. I'm just adding some kind of darker feathers on top. You play with as much or as little as you wish. I like the blues. I like having a little blue on the body. I like having a little blue in the tail. That's fun. I'm going to clean up my brush. So if you happen to mix blue and orange, you will get a brown. So just be conscious to rinse off your brush along the way. And we will do an eye for the turkey, but we want the head to be dry first. So let the head dry, and then we'll do the eye, and we'll do the red part of the bird on top. So I'm just going to clean up my brush, look around. I'm going to add a little bit more light blue back into the tail. So you can reshape any of the details on the tail and the body. That's where I would like for you to focus your attention for the next few minutes. I'm just touching up my blues. I'm just doing a little bit of like blue dotting here, layered in, just because that's what I'm inspired to do. Try doing something a little bit outside your comfort zone. I'm being fairly abstract with some of these brush strokes. So fun. I have a little bit of this dark red. I'm going to use that for the pumpkin. stem just because it matches. So I'll keep an eye on the clock. Everyone can work through some of these details. If you want to make your tail bigger, you can make it bigger. You can see in the inspiration over here, the tail's more rounded. I kind of have a little bit more feather-like edging, but I have, you know, rings of oranges, rings of yellows. I have reds, I have some blues. There's some line-like detail over here. If you're inspired to add in some like white dotting, you could add in white. Totally up to you. I want you to be happy with your bird colors. It's a little bit more brighter of a blue. These are a little bit more dull colors. So I could easily, you know, come in and if I wanted to change any of these colors up, I could. A little bit of shading on the underside of the bird. But we're going to add some nice leaves down here. In just a minute, we'll do leaves and we'll do some twigs to make it really look fall-like. So we'll do that in the second part of our class here. So I'll give everybody another minute or two to play with the bird and the feathers on the tail feathers. And we're going to do the head. We'll do the eye next, and we'll do the red part on the beak next. And then we'll shift down to the bottom. If you need more time to play with the bird, feel free to take that time. Feel free to take a minute. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know in the chat window below. But take a moment. I'm just going to grab a paper towel and I'll be right back. Right. Perfect. I hope you're loving this. I absolutely love this inspiration. Who would have thought a turkey would have been so colorful? Okay. So I'm going to get some fresh white on my plate. It's so cute. I know the turkey is so cute. I love that it's colorful. You know, turkeys can be fairly, you know, bland in color, but if you look at them, you can really appreciate, you know, what that character looks like here. I will go ahead and I'll upload the inspiration for folks that would like to see that visual detail again. And we're going to go ahead and paint the turkey's eye. And this is where things get really silly whenever you paint animals. And apparently we all can paint turkeys. How about this? If you paint about a part of my other classes, some other animals are far more difficult to paint. I will not name what they are, but if you've been to my classes, then you probably know. You want to grab one of your smallest brushes that have a nice fine point on them. And we're going to do the turkey's eye together. All right. Now my turkey face is dry. So like where my yellow is, that's where we're going to do our eye. So you're going to grab a small brush of choice. And you're going to get a little bit of white paint. And the eye, you're just going to kind of do like a white line. That looks very angry, doesn't it? We're going to put a black dot in there. So don't worry about this. This is a white marking on its face. We're going to put the dot small, like lower down. So I did a white line just for like a white mark. We're going to call it a white marking. That's how its eye is. And then while the white marking is there, you can grab some red paint and you can do this business on its nose. So about halfway down its nose, and then it can dangle down just a little bit. Now, if you do something you don't like, you can always paint over it. Like I might have gone up too high. It's okay. I can always paint over that if I need to. There. So I'm just going to let that dry. And the white paint's also going to dry. What we're going to do is we're going to, once the white is dry on its face, that marking, we're going to do a tiny black dot to give the eye itself. So I'm going to let that dry. And I don't want it to smudge, so you have to kind of be a little patient there. And then we're gonna jump right down and we'll do some of the sticks down below, and then we'll add leaves to the sticks. Now we could just paint some leaves in and connect the leaves with sticks. Either way works fine. I like to do some of the sticks first to help ground some of the bottom. Now, I'm gonna put those branches in first. It's gonna be like branches laying like below the turkey. So like 2 or 3 that are flat, horizontal. Grab a small brush of choice and we're gonna mix a brown together. So for the face, we're just doing the red kind of gobble part down, and then we're gonna do just the white mark. We're gonna put a black eye in after, but I'm gonna mix the brown. So who remembers how to mix a brown? So brown is red and green, which I feel like is one of the easier ways to make brown. We don't have any green on our plate yet. So imagine we don't have green. You mix red, blue, and yellow together to get brown. We also I have blue and orange right here. So I'm just gonna do my new combination just to kind of clean it up. So I'm gonna put a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of red together to make a brown. And we don't need very much because we're just doing a few sticks. So I'm just gonna mix a brown. And use a small brush of choice. And we're gonna do really thin sticks. So I'm just mixing that brown. I'm spinning my brush on my plate. Here's my brown, just a little bit, spinning that. And then below my bird, I'm just gonna do a few really thin lines. Look at that, nice and thin. If you wanted to dip your brush in a little bit of water, spin it on the water cup. You can go all the way across. I might put some berries on that one. You could do a couple of secondary branches. You can add another branch in. Whatever you wish. This is, and I put a little water on. The water will make it lighter. It'll help it drag a little easier. And I'm just going really slow. And like, you don't need more sticks than that, because if you want to put more, you can. And I just use the tip of this brush with a little water. And I'll put my leaves and my berries and my green leaves and my foliage leaves all on top of this. Okay, and I'm gonna come to the realization, I'm gonna stop in a minute here, but I'm gonna put a berry stick over here. On top, it's gonna layer on top of my pumpkin, I think. We'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna stop. So I kind of just did a fluttering of branches down here. A little water on the tip of your brush with a little bit of brown paint. Okay. Ooh, my white eye is almost done. So your white is dry on your bird's head. You can use a tiny, tiny, tiny brush to do the tiny black dot of the eye at the bottom of it's kind of like halfway in the white slash, or you can use the round end of the brush. This is sometimes easier with black paint to do the bird's eye. So I like to dip the end of a paintbrush. See how it gives you that little point on the end? And it's in halfway, and it's, ooh, now I have a turkey. So I can fix my beak. My beak is not perfect. You can adjust the size of your beak if you need to, but I just did a tiny black dot. Your turkey might become a little crazy. He or she might be friendly now. I don't know. You can make these choices of the personality of your turkey. But I realize I need to fix the turkey beak a little bit. So you're going to see what you need to fix. You'll see what you like, what you want to change. Let's see here. What do I need to do to this bird? I think it needs to be, let's give him a little bit of orange. It just needs to be a little bit bigger. That's better. Might need to be a little more yellow. So you're gonna have, and you're gonna see things on yours that you wanna make some modifications for. Just take it with a grain of salt, let something dry. If something is getting mucky with color, you just take a minute, take a break. There, I just made my head a little bit bigger. Perfect. And if I need to bring that red part down a little bit more, easy peasy, just bring it down a little bit more. If I need to put a little white paint on top, if I went a little too high, once that red is dry, I can go in and I can touch that up. If folks are looking to make brown, yellow, blue, and red will make brown. So doing a little bit of mix of all those three colors. So my turkey looks great. I have some of my branches down here. And then we can start adding in some really beautiful leaves. So we haven't really touched the color green yet. So let's start with some green leaves and then we'll add some more foliage-like leaves. So let's see, to make green, it is yellow and blue mixed together. It's yellow with a touch of blue. And again, if you want to slow down and play with more details on the turkey, feel free. You can always do that after too. We have plenty of time for tonight's class. But I'm just going to find a small brush of choice. This is a round tip brush. It's probably a 1 or a 2. Nothing fancy, just a regular craft brush. And to make green, it's yellow with a tiny touch of blue. So I have a yellow right here. This is like a lemon yellow. It's pretty bright. I'm just going to bring in some blue. And I'm going to find a green that I like. Now the green that I have here is it's kind of an olive green. So you can play with bringing in maybe a little bit more blue. To give a color a little bit more dull of a hue, you can add a tiny touch of black to make it look a little more gray or dull. I might do that here. So look, I have like a lime green. I don't want lime green leaves. So I might take, look at this. I have a little bit of black right here. A little bit of black will dull this color for me. And it will give me more of an olive-like color. I can also add a little bit of white to lighten it if I wanted to. So you can play with using black and white to control the shade and the tint of a color. So look, that's a little bit better. That's actually quite right. I'm going to add a little bit more black to make it a little bit more gray. And again, if it starts getting darker, I can add a little bit of white to lighten it if I want to, which I might add a little bit. But I'm finding a color that I like for the leaves. And I'm going to add a leaf on top of the pumpkin and a couple of leaves down on the bottom. And the leaf design can really be up to you. I'll bring this a little closer. So I'm going to do kind of a long leaf design down here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a point. I'm going to push down a little bit, come off. So the point, push down on my brush and let off. Point. So you can kind of play with this leaf-like detail. Point and you push down. So look, that's a nice little leaf-like shape down there. So you could do your point and then push down on your brush and then come up. Have a nice leaf-like shape. I just did kind of a pointer leaf. I might do the same leaf over here. So a starting leaf on the point on the top and then push and then come up. And then alternate from the left to the right. So point and then I push and then I come up. So the point and then I push and then I come up. Point, push, and then I let go. You can kind of connect them all if you want. Totally up to you. You could do little leaves to kind of connect it. I love doing little like accented leaves to connect. So I always, in these classes, I always teach the balance of color, the balance of composition. So I did a leaf on the left, I did a leaf on the right, and we're gonna do the same thing with a lot of the other colors too. So if you wanted to put a little bit of like green leaves up here on the top of the pumpkin, you could. Absolutely up to you. Again, using the tip of the brush, pushing down. My pumpkin is flat orange right now. I haven't played with the depth techniques for the orange. We can play with that if we want to. So I'm going to get in a lot of the basic elements. So we did the basic elements of the turkey. We did the basic elements of the branches and then the leaves. But if you need to spend more time on those details, feel free. But we are going to go back before the end of class. We'll be wrapping the class up in about 30 minutes or so to keep us on time. But we just do basic colors right now, and then we'll go back in and play with more detail. So the next thing I may do is add some more fall-like color leaves. So oranges, orangey yellows, red leaves, just like the inspiration. So I have these colors conveniently on my palette already, and so do you, unless you used all the paint, which is okay. So, and if anyone has to leave soon, no problem, but the class is recorded. Again, be sure to check out all the links from our partners and friends at AARP New Hampshire. We would not be here without their support tonight. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep adding some more leaves. So I'm going to add some, let's do orange leaves first. You can do red leaves. I'm going to do the yellow leaves last. So I have orange right here. I'm just going to do some orange leaves. You can play with the techniques for these leaves. I'm going to do fairly similar. Maybe you do some like maple leaf shapes. This one just is kind of like a longer leaf. I might put one of those up here. So I'm using the tip of the brush, and maybe I'll do 5 little leaf petals. You can pick and choose, but you can see how I'm just gently filling in this space. So I have a little bit of orange. I love using like a blood orange color for these classes. Such a great fall color. So I'm mixing a little bit of red and orange together for that like mid-tone color. Maybe I'll do a different leaf shape. Maybe I'll do like more rounded, like birch-like leaf shape, like bigger. There, and maybe I'll do a little, you can bring in other colors for depth and dimension. So I brought in a little bit of red. So I used the blood orange color, round like leaf, and you can always bring in a little bit of red on one edge to give a little depth. I'm inspired to add some of these berries. I might use the round end of my brush to do round berries up here by the turkey. In the inspiration, they have little orange and red berries. There's like 6 or 7 of each. I love that. So cute. I'm going to clean off the brush. I'm going to use the round end of a brush. I'll use red first. Do some berries. So any way you want to fill this bottom space in, this is absolutely up to you. But I'm going to do a couple of berries. 1, 2, 3, some clusters of little berries. 1, 2, 3, using the round end of the brush. And I'm going to add in, oh, I love those so much. I'm going to put some of the berries over here too. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See how it's all matching to the eye visually. Looks great. 1, 2, 3. And then I'll add some orange berries as well. So you can add in as many or as few of these berries as you wish. Love these berries. I feel like berries are such a fun staple for, I might even put some in the middle because I love them so much. They're such a fun staple for all of our holidays this time of year. And I'm just dipping the round end of my brush into fun berries. Yes, and Frances did share that we have our next AARP New Hampshire paint class on December 11th at 6 p.m. And since you're all here, I'll give you a little sneak peek of what that inspiration is. Let's see. Ooh, we're doing a really cute ivy, like it's a bird design. Birds are kind of sitting within like a rounded hoop with some ivy and a red bow with little red berries. Imagine that. And it says holiday and joy on the inside. It can say whatever you want in like a fun script. So I hope you all will sign up and join us for that. It's a really simple, cute class. and we'll be using a round object from your home. So like a salad bowl to do like a nice round circle to like give us that starting confidence, which is always helpful. So I encourage you to click that link. That's Francis. Copy the link, maybe send it to a friend that you want a friend to join with us. The more the merrier. But I'm going to do some orange berries as well. So this painting tonight, it can be as simple or as complex as you wish. These berries are pretty tiny. In the inspiration, there's little tiny black dots on these berries, which we can absolutely do for like centers. We'll just let these dry first. And we'll add a little depth to our leaves. You can add as many or as few leaves as you wish. So there's some berries. Our turkey's coming along. We'll do a little bit more detail work on our turkey, just finishing touches. I'll go over some tips in a few minutes. So I'm just going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to just add any more leaves that I want here. I have, I might add some softer yellow style leaves, so maybe an orangish yellow. It doesn't need to be a pure yellow. But I like having the array of colors down below. It looks so nice. Don't put your hand in your paint. That's why we have paper towels. All right. So I'm going to do a little yellow, a little orange. Spin that brush. And if you need to change brushes, I always love talking about brush selection in these classes because you get to choose, but it also reminds you to switch brushes if you need to, which is sometimes helpful to have somebody remind you to do that. But I'm just going to do a couple of yellowy orange leaves down here. And this brush isn't working for me. So guess what? I'm going to be conscious enough to switch something with a little bit more of a fine point on it. Look at that, taking my own advice. All right. And you might need to mix more paint colors along the way. Absolutely fine. So just take your time. We usually target our classes to be about an hour and a half. We're going to come in and you can play with your turkey more, the turkey feathers. We went through some of that quickly, but it was good just to get those basic colors down. It's actually, we do that with intent just to kind of get you going, and then you can go back and refine and add more detail if you wish. So I'm going to come in here and just play with these leaves and make them a little bit darker. And I'm going to pause and I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, do I want to add anything anywhere else? If you want to add feet into your turkey, you can. I'm not going to add feet onto my bird because they're underneath his feathers. That is my perception and my interpretation tonight. So take that as you wish here. Areas you might want to do a second coat of paint. So this is where we go back in and we update our details. So I'm not using the highest quality paint, so I can see through some of the green leaves. So I'm just putting a little bit of green paint and I'm just going to touch up some of my leaves. So the color is a little bit more solid. Doing a little bit more solid green leaves. And those are standing out just a little bit more now, which is really nice. There's a lot of depth techniques that we can do along the way here. So we always talk about depth techniques in our classes. One that I'll share with you tonight is on your green leaves, as an example. You can make a little bit darker of a green color, which I'm doing here, and I'll show you. So I have a little bit of black, and I'm mixing a little bit of a darker color. See that? And I have a small brush. So see how this green here is darker than that one? I don't have a ton of paint on this brush. On the underside or the left side of each leaf, you can do a little bit of a drag brush stroke to add a little bit of shading. See what that does down here? Adds a little bit of depth, a little bit of shadow. So if you wanted to put a little bit of a darker green on some of your green leaves, you can. Now we all have different kinds of brushes, right? So just take this with a grain of salt. And if it's too dark, guess what? It's okay. Just come back over, paint over it, blend it in. But you can see that fun technique that it gives. You can do the same thing with all the other colors. If you have an orange leaf, you can take a darker orange and just do a little bit of outlining or a little bit of blending on some of those leaves. So this is where artists really create, you know, they take a two-dimensional object and they really try to make it a three-dimensional object. Well, not even three-dimensional. They make it two-dimensional by adding shading, really. And it's really fun. We do it in our classes. It's not always small scale like this. So if I take a little bit, even of like a reddish orange to my orange leaves, that's a darker color for a shading. So I could come, if I wanted to, and add a little bit of a darker color to some of the orange leaves. I also need to fill some of these in. So just take a few minutes here. I need to come in and I'll do some second coats on these orange leaves. But this is the point in the class. We have about 15 minutes left. And this is where you're going to work on what details, you know, mean or matter the most to you. If you want to add some of this texture, we'll do the pumpkin in a minute, but if you want to play with the leaves, we'll do some dimensional work on the pumpkin in a minute. But making sure your leaves have a second coat if they need them. Pausing and reflecting on your work is one of the best things we can do for all those finishing touches. Are you happy with the colors in your bird? Do you want to add any white-like detail? Let me show you what it's like to add a little bit of white to our turkey. I can also fix the red that went too high on my nose with a little bit of white as well. So now that the area is dried, anywhere you want to touch up, you can use white as your eraser color. Watch this. I have a little bit of white here. If this red went too high, I can easily paint over. Look at that. And I just adjusted it just a little bit. Perfect. Now I could do some really fun like white dots if I wanted to on my turkey. Let's see here. I could do white lines. I could just do a few white dots here and there. This is your turkey. You can do it ever you wish. I'm kind of doing it right in between my blue and my red. You might be doing like a fun tail design. I'm going to drop my email. If people want to send me your inspirations, I always love seeing your work from these classes. Such a blast. Look, I added some just white dots. If you wanted to add any white-like detail, even a little bit here, like on the top of the turkey, like on this hump, you can kind of do a little bit of a white line. I'll show you right here. You can do a white line to kind of highlight this brighter edge. And you can even bring in, if you wanted to, you could bring in like a little bit of white, like on the top side here, a little bit if you wanted to. I wouldn't do that actually, it doesn't really look right. But right there on the top looks nice. They have a little bit of white kind of in some of these feathers down behind. So if you wanted to bring in a little bit of white in some of these tail feathers, you could. It's absolutely up to you. This is your turkey. But you can see this is so fun, so creative. Before we wrap up in the next few, I love this. Her turkey is floating. So I would just put some more leaves below your turkey to fill in that space. So for me, my turkey is kind of floating a little bit too. So I could just bring these leaves up a little higher. So it's like kind of sitting on a nest of leaves. So look, I could just tuck some colors in here. Just little dots of color, and it just grounds the bottom of the turkey a little bit more. You could put it in like a bed of like green leaves or darker leaves. It's absolutely up to you. For your pumpkin, if your pumpkin is orange, you can use a red orangey color for a little bit of shading on one side. So I'm mixing like red and orange together. I can dip my brush in a little bit of water And I can mix that. Ooh, where'd my turkey fall? Oh no. I'll get that in a minute. Mixing red and orange together, and I have a little water. And on one side of the pumpkin, you can do a little gentle outline, and you can add some rinds with a darker color if you wanted to. The thing with pumpkins is you want to maintain the color, but you can bring in a little bit of lightness and darkness to just bring in a little bit of shading. So I could bring in a little bit of yellows, even lighter oranges. So mixing white and a little bit of a lighter orange for some highlighting in between the rinds. Or you could just keep it orange, doesn't matter. But I'll bring it a little closer. So you can, doing some edging for some shading on the side. I don't want to get near my berries too much, but you can get the picture here. You can mix a little bit of a lighter orange. And you can let things dry and come back in. Just a little bit of detail work if you wish. But really, I want you to be happy with your turkey. So pay attention to the head. You know, if you want to do any smooth brush strokes to outline the body, I might take a little bit of that darker red or the red and just do like a nice smooth line on the back of the head. So the back of the head has a nice smooth line. If you want to play with bringing in any more feather-like texture, you can use the tip of your brush and bring in some more feather-like texture, whether it's a little bit of red or a little bit of blue. I'm just doing little brush marks. This is the final touches that you can do as much or as little here as you wish. But we have all those basic colors in. Now you can come in and you can add some more feathering texture on top. And I did a little bit as I went through, but you can play with those darker red colors, the lighter red colors. You can do the texturing with the blue on top of the blue, but just stay within that color zone. So if you're doing red, do red texture on red, etc. Otherwise your turkey will get pretty mucky. And I may use a little bit of white to reshape some of, or even my feathers. Maybe my feathers need to go behind my pumpkin a little bit. I feel like my feathers stop right here at the pumpkin. I feel like they need to keep going or I need to redefine them. So I might put the blue going right past the back of that turkey. So look at the shape of the feathers and does it look natural to you? I could even have the feathers going on top of the pumpkin, which would probably be the most natural thing to do. And you know what? It's probably dry enough. I love taking risks in these classes. I'm gonna put the feathers right on top of the pumpkin. How funny is that? Let's see if that works. So these feathers need to come out. Look at that. They need to just come out straight even a little bit. And I just went on top a little bit. I love taking these little risks. But they need to kind of like point downwards a little bit. There we go. There, my feathers needed to just point down and out a little bit. And if you feel like you have too many brush strokes, just come in and add some plain color again. That's okay. If you went a little crazy, you can go back and you can change the color of some areas. There's nothing wrong with that. And your colors are wet, you can kind of reblend them. You can add little dotting like texture for the feathers. Check and see what brush you're using. I'm gonna add a little bit of white coming down here. I'm just being playful. But you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna stop. You're gonna say, Megan, I'm happy. I'm not gonna touch my turkey anymore. But a couple of tips to get us over the finishing point here. I want you to highlight the back of the turkey's neck with a darker color. So if you have a darker red, this is really gonna help your turkey stand out. So a little black and a little bit of red will give you a darker red. So this line on the back of the head, kind of coming down the back of the neck, that will help your turkey stand out. The round second part of the circle here. And then having fun with some of this feather-like detail. And I could even add a little bit more blue down here on the underside too. So it's totally up to you. I hope you all loved this. I had so much fun with our turkey. I encourage you to share this with your family and friends and share your thanks. I'm going to add a little bit of blue down here on the front side of the turkey by my berries. There. That's what he needed. It's a boy turkey, apparently. But a big thanks to our friends at AARP New Hampshire for having us. We would not be here tonight without their support. Hope everybody is having a great time. If there's any random questions as you are working on your final details, please do not hesitate to ask. If our friends at AARP New Hampshire have any details or any other upcoming events that you would like to share, feel free to pop on and say hello to our audience. But Frances, thanks again for being here. And if anyone needs any help with any finishing touches, definitely let me know. And I'm going to put a tiny black dot in the inside of some of these berries. So I have a nice fine point brush right here. And I'm going to take a little bit of my black paint. And this is a really tiny detail. And I'm just doing a little dot on the inside of each of these berries. My berries are so tiny, but I like this look. So I'm just taking a minute to do that. If you don't have a brush that's small enough, you can always use the round end of your brush if your point of a brush doesn't work for you. So I did tiny little black dots on the inside of my berries. If you wanted to do little veins on the inside of your leaves, you could do that. You could use a brown to do any veins on your leaves. I'll show you what that looks like as well as a finishing touch. If you need to add any more branches, you could always add branches. Sometimes the brown is a great color to connect your leaves if you need a little bit more connection. I have a little bit of brown here. With a little bit of water will really help move things around. Spin my brush with a nice fine point, and I can connect some of these leaves. I can do a little bit of a line on the interior. Especially on some of these golden leaves, it looks really nice. It's up to you where you want to do that though. If you need any like connecting branches, again, if any of your leaves are floating and you feel like they need to be connected, just add another branch or a leaf stem and connect it to a branch if you need to. So that's where it's good to kind of come in with the brown and just kind of connect any of the leaves that may be floating. It's a nice, easy finishing touch, especially your berries too. You might have a lot of random berries like I do. And using a little water to connect some of these random berries back to the branch. That just looks stupendous. There we go. And a little water on a little bit of brown. But you can work on whatever finishing details that mean the most to you. Ella, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad everyone had a nice time tonight. I am happy with my turkey. These classes, we could spend 2 hours on this turkey, and we took a fairly simple approach to our bird tonight, just because there was a lot of colors. We did a little bit of depth here and there, but I like keeping things easy. So if these classes are more approachable to most folks, and then you can always take it to the next step if you want to. Terry, thanks for being here. Miss Lisa and Marie. Marie is so funny. She anticipated the turkey was a little more difficult. Me too, Marie, but we all did it together, and it actually looks like a bird, doesn't it? Woohoo. Diana from Hawaii, mahalo. Thank you, Diana. Mahalo to you. Miss Margarita, thank you all for joining. I encourage you all again to check out and click on some of those links to sign up for our next class. And Frances posted the YouTube channel for where you can find a recording of this class. I'll hang out for a couple minutes, but I'm so glad that Lisa is back joining us, and be sure to sign up for our December class, and we can see y'all again soon. But I'll hang out for a couple minutes if there's any additional questions, but I'm going to let mine dry and I'll reflect. I might need to touch up my leaves in one more area, but I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and I hope y'all see you again soon. Thank you for being here. All right.